In 2015, I started hearing about this natural gas pipeline that was going to be built in West Roxbury. Nothing this big had ever been built in a densely populated neighborhood. Now, I'd already signed petitions against pipelines in other parts of the country, and now there was one coming in my own backyard. But I didn't get involved right away. See, even though it was in a residential neighborhood near my church with 2 schools plus a senior center, and even though it was across the street from a quarry. Now, I'm not an engineer, but I think it doesn't take more than common sense to know that highly flammable stuff and a place where they blow up things are a bad combination. All of these things were clear. This was a terrible idea. But there was one challenge. See, I grew up in Roxbury, predominantly Black neighborhood where we feel like too often we get dumped on. And this pipeline was gonna be built in West Roxbury, predominantly white neighborhood, very well connected. I figured, I'm working so much on stuff in my own neighborhood, they got this, they'll handle it, everybody will come to their aid. But the pipeline kept being built. And finally, some friends asked me to come to a rally, so I showed up. And next thing I knew, I was in West Roxbury almost every week. People were coming out, they were standing in front of the trucks, stopping the construction, and I supported them, but in terms of getting arrested, I held back. I figured, does the world really need another Black person to go to prison? So finally I got an email from a friend. It talked about how in Pakistan, the summer before, 1,300 people had died because of heat waves. So many people that gravediggers were starting to dig ditches in anticipation of summer. And the ditches in Pakistan looked eerily similar to the ditch in West Roxbury. So we decided to have an action to call attention to this and to mourn all the people who were losing their lives because of climate change. And we chose a date, June 29th, my birthday. My birthday's complicated. It's a day I celebrate, but it's also a day that I mourn. Anyway, the day came, I was in all Black in my full clerical gear, and there was a lot of sun. So we had a prayer service, but we kept it short. And then we jumped in the ditch. Standing there in the ditch, waiting to get arrested. And I started to think about what I usually think about on my birthday. See, June 29th is not just the day I was born. It's also the day Kareem died. In 2005, I was running a youth arts program to teach young people how to take their arts and talk about social justice issues. And Kareem was one of our young artists. He was charismatic and really committed, and all of the young people really followed his lead. But on June 29th, 2005, I woke up on my birthday to a call from a colleague telling me that Kareem had been shot and killed in the early hours of the morning, a few miles from my house. He had wanted to turn his life around, but some folks just wouldn't let him move beyond the life of his past. And so standing in this ditch as the only person of color in a privileged part of the city, I felt like I needed to say something about Kareem, that we shouldn't just be fighting for people dying in Pakistan or even in West Roxbury if we couldn't honor the lives of young people who were dying because of even less futuristic things than climate change. So I started talking, first to the people next to me, then loud enough that the police could hear. And then when I was done, people clapped and thanked me for sharing about Kareem's life. As I got arrested and carted away, they cheered and said my name and his name. I ended up in a jail cell with a 70-something-year-old activist in a tie-dye shirt and Birkenstocks from the suburbs. She talked about all of the different issues she had been working on over her whole life. And as we waited for the bail bondsman, we started to question, how could we build this world where we wouldn't sacrifice people in Pakistan or in Roxbury? Finally, I got bailed out. My family picked me up, and they took me to the beach for, watching the beach, sunset on my birthday. And as I looked out over the waves, I realized that that day, I'd built a little bit of a bridge between two opposing neighborhoods. And maybe I'd made a small dent in helping us see the connection between climate change and violence. So in the end, June 29th, it's not just the day I was born. It's not just the day Kareem died. It's also a day where I stood up for something I believe in. Thank you.